Good morning, all. I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome everyone, all members of council that are joining us in person and virtually this morning, to all members of our staff that will provide us facts and information so we can make decisions in the best interest of the Corporation of ACW and our residents, to all members of the public that are joining us this morning and the media. First thing I'd like to do is to wish our Deputy Clerk a very happy birthday today. Happy birthday, Kelly. We hope you have an enjoyable day. Meetings of council are live streamed on the township's official website in accordance with the live streaming and virtual participation of meetings policy. By attending this meeting, attendees and participants are consenting to their image, voice, and comments being recorded and available for public viewing on the township's website. Do any members of council have a pecuniary interest or general nature thereof to indicate at this time of any agenda item that we have today? I thank you for that. We have the minutes, a couple sets to approve. The first will be the council meeting minutes of the 6th day of February, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Miltenberg and Snoblin, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby adopts the February 6, 2024 council meeting minutes as written. Are there any questions on these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. And the second set of minutes is for the Property Standards Appeal Committee of the 8th of February 2024. A mover and a seconder for these, please. Deputy Mayor Vanstone and Councillor Hickey, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby adopts the February 8th, 2024 Property Standards Appeal Committee meeting minutes as written. Are there any questions on these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? That again is carried. Open forum is an opportunity for any members of the public to make any comments that they would care to at this time regarding any agenda item from number 6 on. Is there anyone that would like to make any comments at this time? And seeing none, we'll move to 6.1, which is the payment of the current accounts. A mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Forrester and Hickey, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby authorizes the payment of the February 2024 accounts as presented. Do we have any questions on any of these items? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that again is carried. Thank you. Payment of the previous month's actual accounts. A mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Miltenberg and Deputy Mayor Vanstone, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council hereby approves the payment of the January 2024 accounts in the amount of $1,429,850.50. Are there any questions on these numbers? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that again is carried. Thank you. 6.3 is the summary revenue/expenditure reports, and I would entertain a mover and a seconder for these, please. Councillor Hickey and Forrester, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council adopts the summary revenue/expenditure reports as written for the Township, Lucknow and District Medical Center, and the Lucknow and District Recreation for January 2024. Are there any questions on any of these lines? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion? And that again is carried. Thank you. The fee bylaw update is coming back for approval in a bylaw. We have discussed this previously, and it is for water, planning, recreation, septic inspection, and garbage bag tags. Any questions? I'm going to ask for a show of hands, and we'll adopt that in Section 18 as a bylaw. And that is supported by council. Thank you. The final revenue expenditure report is included for 2023. It is for information purposes. Are there any questions on any of these numbers? Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, no specific questions. I'll save those for budget time. I haven't gone over it with my fine tooth yet. But I know that we generally get our budget binders. I am planning on being in person for the budget meeting, but I am unclear if I'm going to be able to pick up that binder. So if it could be sent electronically to me as soon as it's done, like within the budget, these numbers, that would be awesome. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll defer clerk or CAO, please.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Under the Planning Department, 7.1, a delegated consent application. And again, that was provided by Megan Tidhernick and is for information purposes. Any questions on this? Seeing none, on the chief building officials report that has been prepared by our CBO, Brett Pollock, again for information. Any questions on this? Our 9.1 is the short-term rentals public engagement and consultation. And I would like to comment that staff have indicated that council has asked staff to prepare a survey and towards the ACW residents on short-term rental users and operators to establish a broad understanding of the issues currently facing those who are impacted. Does anyone have any questions or comments to make on this? Councillor Snowblin, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I did send out an email to my colleagues on council and to the clerk and CAO on this. I want to say firstly to thank you to Florence for preparing this and going forward with the motion that I brought forward back in November. I know that there was some complexities and some challenges with trying to get this on the agenda as early as it has been. So I'm very pleased with the comprehensive report. There's a few things that I would like to maybe bring up for discussion and perhaps have a little more clarity and maybe find out where the clerk or staff are going with some of the things. The first one would be on the distribution of the survey. The survey indicated, or the report indicated that the survey would be distributed to the whole township, all the residents. And there's some concerns on that because I think east of 21 Highway, you get into a demographic that maybe isn't as familiar with short-term rentals or the challenges around the lakeshore issues. And I'd include in that maybe the Amish population. Firstly, I think that it would be maybe more cost effective to keep it west of 21 Highway. And it might prevent some dilution of the survey results as well. So I bring that forward first of all, and also the duration of the survey. I think it was recommended 60 days, which I guess I can see where that would be advantageous, but sometimes surveys, in my experience, surveys have done better when it's short and sweet and to the point, and you gather the information. And I wonder if that might be more cost effective as well. So I do have a few more questions and concerns, but I'll leave it there for discussion.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to council first, and the first one will be Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, thanks, Anita, for those comments, because I hadn't really given it that much thought. I think what you said makes sense in the broad scheme, but I also think that there's a way to get around that without excluding people, because like there might be somebody like, say, myself, who's like, I don't care, whatever, and then I don't answer the survey. I think it's a waste of money. And you also can often tell how effective your surveys are by the return rate, right? So a 20% return rate is considered good, but if not everybody cares, like you're not going to get that, and then you're not sure if it's an effective survey. But there might be somebody like, again, me, who says, well, short-term rentals affects my ability to use the lakefront because it's full of people and I don't like them. I don't know. I'm just saying something like that, right? So I'd like to have a voice in it. So I'm wondering if we can still distribute or at least make them available to everyone, but have an additional question that says, I am in the affected area, I am a short-term rental person, I don't really care, or I have an opinion, and put other, so that people can have a voice if they want a voice and they aren't excluded. That would be where I would go with your thought process. And the other comment I would make is that there's a lot of people in the world, again, like me, who will do basically anything for a free pen. And I know, having distributed surveys through Kingsbridge, that if you offer something, if you try the survey, more people will fill out the survey just because they want it. And it was literally a free pen, and we had like a 50% return rate. I'm not saying everybody should get a pen, but maybe we could give out a Yeti mug at the end of a draw if you did redo the survey, and even if you filled out, this survey does not apply to me, you still get in the draw. So at least then we know that the reach and whether people care and whether they were engaged or whether they actually heard about it. And those would be my suggestions to build on yours, Anita.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any additional comments of council at all? Councillor Forster, please.
Thanks, Glenn. I disagree with west of 21. Like, Airbnbs are everywhere. I'm sure Dungannon has them. I know Lucknow, Wingham. Even my neighbor, I clean his lane out. It's just a cottage. And I said, I don't know why he doesn't rent this out as an Airbnb. It's a perfect little spot. Other than that, but I also talked to a guy. He has a cottage. I think he's at South Bruce Peninsula, and the licensing, and it sounds like really a lot of work. So did Blue Water have to hire somebody, or I don't know. That's just my thoughts on it. So, okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And if I could make a comment, I concur with you, Wayne. I feel very strongly about being inclusive to everyone. And I feel that this survey should be sent to all residents of ACW because all residents may be affected by the outcome of what we do if there are financial implications. And to just draw a line at 21 and say, well, that side should be sent a survey and this side not, I'm challenged with that. I would rather be inclusive because I think that that is the right thing to do. Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree because we have one in Ben Miller, and there is some controversy, mainly over parking. So, anyways, I think everybody should be included. Thank you very much.
Okay, any additional questions or comments before I go back to our clerk to respond to your questions? Clerk, please, if you would, comments to Councillor Snowblin's first question.
For sure, thank you. So just off the top of my head, in terms of the cost effectiveness of only sending it to 21, the intention is to do it, is to have the survey primarily virtual, to have an electronic survey established. So while the most of the cost would be, in this instance, would be the mail out that would go to every resident saying, hey, this survey exists. Please, go to the website, fill it out, or contact us and you can get a paper copy to complete. I hesitate to suggest as a recommendation from staff that we would only consider west of 21 because as Councillor Forster alluded to, it isn't just west of 21. These issues do happen. There's smaller spots inland, other areas that, I wouldn't call them urban areas, but there are some rural spots that are close in proximity to each other. And I think it would be unjust to put regulate if you were to consider regulating one area versus another. I think that would set a bit of a double standard. The cost of it would be, we would have to basically see a survey platform, what the cost would be to do it for that, whatever length of time that we do choose to do it. And then it would be the mail out that would be the cost. So the postage and the printing and whatnot. In terms of the duration of the survey, the two that I really focused on, one was Blue Water and the other one was the town of Gravenhurst. And both of them had a 90-day length. And the reason why I thought 60 was because I thought 90 was too long. But the other thing to consider is that if you have to be careful that you don't want to make it too short because the implication of the decision that would be made at the end of this could be significant for certain property owners. So you want to make sure that you do give enough time so that if push comes to shove, you can say, no, we gave everybody a very big window to do this, so that there can be no pushback from anybody that, well, I didn't know about it. Well, you've had 90 days. We've done absolutely everything to push it, and hope that, that those who want to contribute do. The other aspect of it is the intent of the survey would be to narrow the focus, to narrow the intention of what individuals have, like what their involvement is. So at the very beginning, it could say, are you a resident of ACW? Yes or no. Are you a short-term renter? Yes or no. Do you own the property? Yes or no. So we will quickly they will quickly diverge who is filling the survey. And it could be something as simple as, I don't own a short-term rental, I don't participate in short-term rentals, but I am a neighbor of short-term rentals. Or it could be literally, I have no interest in this doesn't affect me at all. And then you'll also see the breadth of who it does not impact and what that percentage is. So I think the intent is to really get a clear picture of the impact that this has throughout the whole municipality, even though we do know that it does focus primarily in one area, which those results would be expected. The other thing I just wanted to touch on while it's on my mind is that the intent of staff to develop the survey is to make sure that we use surveys that already exist. So we pull the questions from other surveys that have already gone out and that are relevant to this area. I don't want to have to recreate the wheel or have to, go elsewhere to find it. They already exist. We just need to make sure that they focus on this area. So that's, those are my comments for now.
Okay, and additional questions or comments, please,
No,
Councillor
Mr.
Snow?
Mayor, well, I do have others, but I would like to respond and say that I feel satisfied with your answers and that it's been given a lot of thought, and I fully support your direction on that. And I see your point about the 90 days versus the 60 days versus a 35 day. Yeah. And thank you also for, pointing out that you probably wouldn't be reinventing the wheel, because that was another one of the pieces that I had conveyed to my colleagues and to staff about, the whole idea about this. One of the things that I'm a little concerned about too, it was mentioned about social media use. And I think I see where you're going about, there's been a survey distributed, and if that was put out on social media. And I believe sometimes, not always, but sometimes social media can easily get out of hand. And I wouldn't want to see it get out of hand and become unproductive. I guess if you have a response to that, I'm hesitant to go further with my comment.
Okay, thank you very much for that comment, and I'll defer to our clerk, please.
So when we launch this, to me, it would be a launch on our social media websites. We do follow our social media policy when it comes to our own sites. We make sure that all the comments are respectful. We kind of follow the protocol there. Obviously, we have no control over external sites, external media postings, and that's something that we just, we have no control over. All we can do is focus on our own efforts and our own positive, and to garnish positive feedback. In the end, I think when the survey results are received, I think that council will really need to focus on the content of the survey. So the whole point of the exercise is to gather survey results, to hear what's being commented on outside of that. It should not be the focus. It really should be the focus on the survey results is what the goal is. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Please continue, Councillor Snowden.
I hate to monopolize the discussion, Mr. Mayor, but thank you for that. I appreciate that, and I understand where you're coming from, that you can only control what you can control, right? And I understand that. On the survey, I guess it would be a desire of myself that it would encompass some of the things like insurance, occupancy limits, whether or not the rental is the principal residence of the owner. I think Bill mentioned parking, septic maintenance, and enforcement. I don't know if I haven't seen the survey from the others, but I wondered if you would concur that those would be things that would be on the survey.
Okay, thank you for the question. Clerk, please.
Yes, we would do our best to, kind of look at all of the concerns that have really sprung out over the last couple of years and really try to ask some questions that are focused on those things. So my suggestion would be, is if we are given the direction to proceed with this survey, is that I would give council an opportunity to send to me, please, those burning questions that you do have. I guess, what are the results that you may be looking for? And if you could please let me know, and that way we can make sure that those questions are definitely addressed. Okay.
Perfect.
And
Please continue.
just finally, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to also thank you for, having the foresight about including emergency services on the survey. It's hard to know where it gets put into the survey, but I feel confident that you'll have some kind of opinion from emergency services, because I think it ties in a little bit to even parking. If the parking isn't taken care of, emergency services can't get a fire truck down somewhere, So it does dovetail a little bit into some of the other concerns, but I do appreciate that you've included that.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Anything additional on this, Councillor Snowden?
Thank you very much for the latitude, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it. And I'd be happy to further discussion with my colleagues on council.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Something that I must verbalize here. The survey is intended to close the 17th of May. Is that problematic at all as far as persons opening their cottage the May 2-4 weekend? That sort of thing. I'm just wondering, is there a need to extend it for a week or not? Staff, do you have any comment on that, please?
The intention around the date was to make sure that there would be a couple of weeks to analyze the data before the June 4th council meeting. I would like, if there's going to be some movement one way or another, I think that it's important that we stick to a bit of a timeline for it, to ensure that at least sometime during 2024, we could at least see a draft of something, if that is the intention of council. But the first step in the survey would be to make sure that we have that dealt with and received before the season kind of really gets underway. Things ebb and flow, and things can change. But the intention is to make sure that because otherwise, if you extend it a week or two, then we're going to be moving into late June or July. And then by the time council makes a decision on it, it could be August or September. And then we're another year ahead. So that was kind of part of the reason why I also reduced it to 60 days as opposed to 90, is because 90 days from now means, moving it closer into the summertime.
Fair enough. I appreciate that. And thank you very much for that. I just did want to verbalize that. Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I see is that, and it is kind of short I looked at the May as well, but could we make sure that, say somebody is late, because it's not going to be settled at May, we're going to start discussing it. So if somebody had come in after May, say the 1st of June, and send a letter in, I think we should look at that letter. So I would want to make sure that the deadline isn't 100% cutoff, that we still could look at something coming in after that, whether we do anything with it or not, but it's up to us. But I would like to be able to at least see what comes in. Thank you.
Hey, Clerk, do you have any comment on the analyzing of the data?
So I would treat that just like, when we receive feedback for a public meeting, if that comes in after the deadline and it's before the publication of the agenda, then, then we would make an effort to put that in. Ideally, if it comes in after we've pulled the data together, then it becomes a sideline, right? But I think we would make every effort to have all the voices, included.
Perfect. Thank you for that. You're good. Councillor Miltenberg, please. Oh, I apologize, Deputy Mayor, please.
No, I was just going to say that's fine, as long as even if it comes in late, I would still like to get it, so I know that happened. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, I love this discussion and great staff responses, but the one response is going to make me repeat something. Florence, you indicated that the intent of the survey was, the questions are, I'm a short-term renter, I'm a neighbor, I'm a whatever, or it doesn't affect me, so that we could gauge the public interest in this process. And in my experience, if it doesn't affect me, why would I fill out the survey? Like that isn't going to gauge it, unless I'm going to put it back out there. If there's a reason for me, there is a business, and I won't say who it is, but I answer their surveys all the time, because at the end of the year I get a free Tim's card. It's like, okay, I'll take 3 minutes because there's something in it eventually for me. And so I don't know. It's nickel and diming, because I do think one way to do it would be the Yeti cup, because then that also promotes that we have them, or something, whatever we have in our little tickle trunk that we also sell, flags, whatever. That would make someone who is like, okay, I don't care, but I recognize that you're doing it. It would make, I would think, a better result of they didn't care, or they didn't care enough not to do it, or they didn't know, because that's hard to tell.
Okay, thank you very much. Fulsome discussion. Staff, we're good with this discussion to proceed? Okay, thank you very much to all. 9.2 is the minimum staff compensation for work outside of regular hours. We have discussed this at length. I would entertain a mover and a seconder to adopt the minimum staff compensation. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Miltenberg. That Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council adopts a minimum staff compensation for work outside of regular hours. Policy number HR-2.19 dated February 6, 2024. Any questions on this? All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. The bylaw enforcement report for January of 2024 is for information purposes. Do any members of council have any questions on this report? Seeing none, thank you. We do not have anything under water, drainage, or public works today. Are there any council committee reports that anyone would like to share at this time? Councillor Miltenberg first, please.
Thank you. Last week, and I'm sure some of the rest of you did too, went to virtually the Huron County training session on simplifying accessibility by Julie Sawcheck. I thought it was excellent, and I say that even though there was a technology problem and I couldn't zoom in, so I had to listen on the phone. I thought Julie did a good job of describing her graphics or whatever she was using. However, they did say that because of that, those slides would become available. So I'm going to ask staff if when they become available, they could send them to me, because it was very interesting and I'd love to see what some of the things she was actually talking about was. But the second thing was, there are, I believe, new regulations, or maybe not new, regulations that are now becoming enforced. I'm not sure how to say it, in 2025. And one of the survey questions was, are you nervous about 2025, the implications of the new regulations? And 87% of the people responded, yes, they were nervous. So my question to our staff is, are you nervous, and why or why not? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I will defer to our staff. First, our clerk, please.
Thanks for the question. I also attended that session, and I thought Julie also did a great job. Ultimately, the responsibility for compliance with accessibility standards falls on the municipalities first and foremost. So we have been, quote, the leaders of implementing the requirements under the AODA to satisfy the province's goal of, having a full accessible province by 2025. Having gone through, I guess I was around when it all started, and we're a couple of years away. I think that my nervous level is, I wouldn't say I'm totally nervous, because there are a lot of us who are in the same boat. So it's not like we're the only ones who aren't at 100%. One of the things, as an example, is, as of 2029, all, play structures that are newly constructed in the township would have to be to an accessible standard. And we've done that. There are some other places around the province who, haven't had to construct any, new playgrounds up until starting in 2019. So what I'm getting at is that the fact that the province sees a goal of 2025 isn't necessarily very realistic, because construction and new projects haven't caught up to the 2025. I guess it was 2005 when it was implemented. So no, I was not around when it started. I had 2015 in my head, so no, it's been, because the goal was 20 years, to have it all dealt with in 20 years. Overall, we do our best. We did have an accessibility, as council knows, we did have an accessibility audit done last year. It was an interesting exercise. It wasn't the full breadth of the entire requirements. It kind of did a little bit of a moving and shaking that we have to remember that this is a massive priority for the province, so we have to kind of keep on top of it. Having had the audit does give me some encouragement that we are on the path where they want us to be, so that's good. But I don't think it's necessarily for us that I'm more worried about. I mean, we did have, I think we've had a lot of projects in the last few years that would bring us up to some accessibility standards, but there are other places around the province who would fall quite behind. So.
That's a very, Miltenberg, Councillor Miltenberg likes that comment. And if I could just build on that, I will suggest the Huron County is a leader in accessibility. And because we take it seriously and we do something about it, and other counties have looked at us for what we are doing to simulate it. And Julie Sawchuk is a tremendous human being that has made a positive out of a very negative situation. And she spoke in Texas recently, and that's how high she is regarded as far as her knowledge, her commitment, and her desire for accessibility. And it was a tremendously worthwhile session. And, I would suggest that when we did our renovation in addition to this building, accessibility was certainly something that was a priority. And I, on behalf of council, would certainly like to commend staff on that. Because again, we've demonstrated we don't talk about it, we do it. And I really commend our staff for that. So thank you. Anything additional of committee reports? Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is only saving me a phone call because I'm aiming this at Jennifer. Mayor Ginn and myself have had some calls from members of the Ball family over Ball's Bridge. And he's looking into having a Ball's Bridge committee meeting sometime in March, whenever he can get his staff to do it. So just for information of council and especially Jennifer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And Councillor Miltenberg likes that. Anything additional for committee reports? Oh, please, Councillor Forrester, you go.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. On Valentine's Day, Glenn and I both attended the Valentine's Day supper at St. Helens. It was an awesome meal, and commend the volunteers for that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Forrester. And I was asked to provide some comments and ask a blessing at a sitting at 5 o'clock. And I commended the volunteers, as you commented, Wayne. The volunteers all through our municipality, and in that specific instance at St. Helens, the work that they do is just nothing short of phenomenal. And I congratulate them on behalf of ACW Council. So thank you very much for bringing that up, Wayne. That was a good meal for Valentine's, wasn't it? Absolutely. And as reluctant as Councillor Hickey is to make any comments, I did attend the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority annual meeting that was held a week ago up at Roxeter. And Councillor Hickey was elected as second vice president of the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority. So congratulations to you on that, Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. I was not in attendance that day. I was not able to be there because of work, but I appreciate the comment. Thank you.
Oh, you'll do a great job with that. Okay, Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, that begs the question. Was Evan voluntold or did Evan volunteer? Because he wasn't there. I've been in those organizations where if you don't show up, you end up the president.
Quite to the contrary. There was a thoughtful process, and he was nominated, and it was discussed with him in advance. I was told that he would accept, and so it was a very democratic process.
Good to hear.
Thank you for that. Is there anything under new business that anyone would like to bring up at this time for a future meeting? Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, I received an email from Let me see. It's an email. I think I pulled it up so I could read it. Yes, it's from AMO Education, and it's Advanced Strategies to Master Conflict Relationships. And they had a beginning one last year, which I believe you, Mr. Mayor, and Councilor Snowballin, I don't think we're on the same days, but we did go. And I found it really excellent because there are a lot of people who are angry and frustrated, and perhaps the message isn't always delivered as peacefully as it could be. And sometimes it's hard when you're doing your best if someone is attacking your morals or your ethics or your motivations without any understanding. And it was annoying me a lot. And I took that course and I came out a different person because I want to do my best for people. And that was very helpful. So I read the description on this one. And actually, I don't think I'm supposed to say anymore. I'd like to send it forward for discussion at the next meeting. And I don't know if I just email it to staff or how that actually works.
Okay, thank you for that. I would defer to our clerk, please.
So you're requesting that this, that correspondence be placed on the council agenda for consideration? In other words, you'd like members of council to consider going?
Yeah,
the idea?
that's what I'd like. Yes.
Okay. So we can certainly put that on the next agenda. If council's receptive to that, then we just need a show of hands.
Okay, that's where you're going with that, wasn't it, Councillor Miltenberg?
Yes, I wasn't sure how to get there, and it was a long, twisted path, but I finally stopped. So that was good. Yes, I will send Florence the email, and then and then everybody can look at it and decide if it's worthwhile. How's that sound?
Well, thank you for bringing this up. So now I'm going to ask for show of hands if council is in support of this being placed on a future agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Miltenberg. Anything else at this time under new business for a future meeting? And if not, under 15.1, this was a new business agenda item that I had asked at a previous meeting to be brought forward. And thank you very much to staff for doing that. And I believe that everyone was copied on an email from Enbridge regarding the natural gas and the challenges that are being experienced by companies in that business to provide natural gas to residents, and in our situation to ACW. So thank you very much, Council, for your support of this. And I have had many residents that have reached out to me personally as the mayor and asked, when are we getting natural gas? I just live over the boundary and I would really want it. And CAO Becker and myself have had meetings with Enbridge on this situation and moving into ACW with it. And I bring this up because I think to be responsive to both our residents and to connect the dots with Enbridge, it would be prudent for us to support this resolution that has been printed and that it be circulated to Colin Best, the president of AMO, our premier, the Minister of Energy, and our MPP for Huron Bruce. So I bring that up as a discussion point, and if anyone would be so inclined to support that, I would entertain a mover and a seconder for that. The Deputy Mayor would move it, and Councillor Snowballin would second. Is there any further discussion on this? Councillor Forster, please.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. I know what you're talking about. In Lucknow, we have residents on the south and they can't have natural gas. That's wrong. Like fiber optic goes down 86 and I'm in Huron County, I can't get it. So I don't know how we ever change that, but I think it needs to be changed. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Any further discussion, Deputy Mayor, please?
Yes, and I'm totally in favor of this, being in the business I used to be in. One plane flying over my place puts more stuff into the air than all the gas places in ACW. So I think the government has to start thinking and get gas out into our part of our province. And you know, as Glenn, said, on one side of the road they have it, the other side of the road they don't, which is typically unfair. And your big drying systems, that's the ones I really look at. You know, it's hard to compete because if you got one guy that's drying his corn with the natural gas and across the road, the other guy's having to use propane at twice the cost, it's definitely not fair. So anyways, I've vented my frustrations and hopefully this goes through and we get something out of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything additional? With the permission of council, the resolution is quite lengthy and it has been circulated in our agenda. So with the permission of council, I will not read that, if that's okay. Are we in support of this? We do have it moved and seconded. And that is passed. Thank you very much. And thank you all to members of council for your work on this and to our staff for this resolution. 15.2 is the community grant application for Out of the Cold that is happening Saturday afternoon at the Legion. And there will be preliminary comments, I believe at 4:30, and then a walk to raise money for Out of the Cold and shelter for the homeless. So this is coming to us. We have done it previously, and it would require pre-budget approval. Are there any questions or comments on this? CAO, please.
I just looked it up because I figured somebody would ask the question, but last year we donated $1,000 and they're requesting $2,500 today.
Okay, so we have donated 1,000 last year. Deputy Mayor, please.
Yes, I don't know. I'm not in favor of donating anything to this. I've had different phone calls from the people who are walking in this, and I know an awful pile of people in ACW have donated that way. So I don't know. I don't think we should be donating on both sides. So if the township's going to do it, they shouldn't be out looking for the people to donate as well. So, you know, I'm kind of in between here, but I honestly don't think we should be giving anything if we're donating personally. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
I'm going to disagree in principle with Bill. Having been part of a large fundraising thing with Kingsbridge and also on the fundraising attempt for the Lucknow Medical Board, where we had a professional fundraiser from the Wingham Foundation come out and work with us. And what they do is they try to find one big corporation that inspires everyone with their gifts so that other corporations who can give less will, and then there's individuals and there's layers and there's tiers. So there's always multi-tiered fundraising attempts, from CAT scans to medical centers to Kingsbridge. You know, that's actually the way fundraising normally works. Having said that, I would be comfortable with the $1,000 from last year. We are going a different way of funding, where, you know, with the community grants, and I would not like to commit that percentage of what we're thinking we're going to give to this until I see a fulsome report on what we are actually, our priorities are. I'm comfortable going with what we did last year. I'm not comfortable with upping it. I think if we want to up it, that would be a decision at this budget time where we look at everything that we want to give to and say, okay, next year when we have to give pre-budget approval, this is what we're comfortable with, or at least then you have an idea of what percentage of money that we're giving out is going to this organization. And I'm comfortable doing pre-budget approval because we had that conversation last year and decided 1,000 was a reasonable number. So I'm comfortable with that, but not anymore this year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Snowden, please.
I concur with Councillor Miltenberg. I do believe that it's a worthwhile organization and endeavor to support Councillor Miltenberg and with, you know, council supports that we give a donation, but then we're, you know, giving a donation to somebody personally. I'm not sure that is any different than we support Kingsbridge Center for some of their initiatives and fundraisers, but I go to Kingsbridge and I pay to go to the play. So it's a choice that you make whether or not you want to donate or go to the play or donate to somebody else. But I've donated to one of the walkers, and to be honest with you, I have a bigger issue with, I donated to the walker and it was almost like a fee that come off. It's an extra $2.50 that I pay towards my donation on it. I have a bigger problem with that, but that's just me. I feel somebody else is, making money off of my donation, and I somehow or another I feel that that's kind of wrong. But I guess that's the way of the future now. So I support Councillor Miltenberg. I support the initiative.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Miltenberg, will you make a motion that ACW provide pre-budget approval for $1,000 to the coldest night of the year? Was that your intent?
That is my motion, yes.
Councillor Snoblin, would you second that? Additional comments? This is very, very worthwhile. I've been involved in this for quite a few years, and to have ACW recognized as a contributor, I think is very, very important. Further comments? All in favor of the motion for $1,000? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for your thoughtful comments. The second pre-budget approval would be for the Huron Threshers Association, and the amount for that, our CAO, please.
Last year and the previous years, we've always done a half page. So this year, the half page is 275.
Thank you for that. And again, I feel it's what we want to be there. When Councillor Forrester talked about the volunteers, the amount of volunteers that are involved in this is absolutely phenomenal. Many are from within ACW. Councillor Miltenberg, please.
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we give the pre-budget approval for whatever the amount that Mark said was.
$250.
Yes.
Oh, 275. CAO $275. Do we have a seconder for this? $275. Yeah, plus HST. And it is seconded by Deputy Mayor Vanstone. Further comments or questions? All in favor of the motion? And that is supported by council. Thank you very much. Correspondence for information purposes would be the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority minutes and the Maitland Valley Protection Authority. Any questions or comments? Under unfinished business, Councillor Milton, I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, but I was kind of sleeping. Under the that grant, will there be discussions coming later on? It's not a grant, but on the because I've just got a letter here today on that as for the source, water source. Will that be coming back to us for discussion at a later date that we can put our 2 cents worth into it?
So your comment is on 16.2, the Maitland Source Protection Authority minutes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Clerk, any comments?
So council did receive last month the pre-consultation package from the Source Protection Authority on that commenting period. So the commenting period, I believe, is open right now. So there is opportunity to have an input now. I believe the process will be the same as it has been. Those changes will be brought forward to council before they are finally approved. So I think there is opportunity yet to come.
I'm sorry I left my mic on, but and thank you for that, because I do have some comments on it, and I know some people in our community are curious as to what's going on. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. 17.1 is indicated is the AMO conference. Councillor Miltenberg is registered for that. It is a tremendously a worthwhile conference. Last year, there was in excess of 2,000 that were registered for it, and it will be held in Ottawa from the 18th to the 21st of August. With that, I would like to move to the bylaws, if we're all right to go around with that. And it would be bylaw 18.1, which is the 12-2024 consolidated bylaw, moved by Deputy Mayor Vanstone, seconded by Councillor Snoblin, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 12-2024, being a bylaw to set various fees for the township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh, and that it now be read severally, a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 20th day of February 2024. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. We do not have a closed session today, CAO. We're good, so we do not need to report out of it. The confirmatory bylaw would be moved by Councillor Hickey, seconded by Councillor Miltenberg, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 13-2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Township of Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Council meeting held on February 20th, 2024, and that it now be read severally, a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 20th day of February 2024. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. I thank you. And it is moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by Deputy Mayor Vanstone, that Ashfield-Colborne-Wawanosh Township Council does now adjourn to meet again on the 5th day of March, 2024 at 9 a.m. or at the call of the mayor. All in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you very much to all. Please enjoy the rest of this beautiful sunny day. And again, happy birthday, Kelly.